Alright, so they're heading down to Duval this weekend. The Steelers are taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Steelers, of course, are 9-0, hoping to go to 10-0 before the big matchup with the Ravens on Thanksgiving Day. And the Jaguars are 1-8. On paper, this seems like a game the Steelers should go down there and win with ease. But, as always, nothing ever comes easy with the Steelers. And, surprisingly, the Jacksonville Jaguars are... I don't want to say they're better than their record is showing, but they're showing signs that, yeah, they can play against the better teams. I mean, they almost beat Green Bay last week. If not for Aaron Rodgers throwing the touchdown to Devontae Adams at the end of in the fourth quarter, Jacksonville probably comes out of that game as winners, and everybody starts talking about them as the team that took down the Packers and might take down the Steelers. But yeah, this is a tough game to call because I feel like this game, besides the Dallas Cowboys game from a couple weeks ago, everyone thought that was going to be the trap game for the Steelers. I feel like this could be the big trap game for the Steelers because the Jaguars are 1-8. They've looked pretty good the last couple of weeks, especially with Jake Lutton under center or at quarterback. So, and not only that, the Steelers, whenever they play the Jaguars, I don't know what it is. The Jaguars are always that team the Steelers always never play as well as they should be playing against. Like, of course, everyone remembers what happened in 2017, the regular season game, and then the postseason game. And then in 2018, the win is they were down 16-0, and Ben Roethlisberger had like 3 interceptions in that game, and yet they came back and won the game at the end. Still one of the best comebacks they've had in a long time. But it just goes to show you how tough the Jacksonville Jaguars play against the Steelers. And it honestly goes back to when they were in the same conference, because they were in the same, not conference, division, I should say. Because, of course, they were both in the same division for about 7-8 years before the Houston Texans came and they had to realign the conferences around. So now the Jaguars play the Steelers every 3 years instead of twice every year. But, so yeah, sorry about the phone, by the way. That's how I feel about the Jaguars and the Steelers. Like, the Jaguars are a team that the Steelers should usually beat, but the Jaguars always find a way to come back and win these not win these games, but make it closer than it should be. And I feel like that's what's going to happen this week. But here's the thing, though. I'm looking at the injury report right now, and they're missing some key players on the Jacksonville sideline. Like James O'Shaughnessy, their tight end. He's been their main tight end. He started every game this season. He's registered 300 total offensive snaps, and he's one of their top tight ends. He's out for the game. So is the rookie Laviska Shenault. One of the other rookies they had, C.J. Henderson, was just placed on the reserve injured list, so he won't play against the Steelers on Sunday. There's just so many injuries on the Jacksonville side, but at the same time, you just have that thought in your head, like, okay, how is this Jacksonville team, as banged up as they are, going to find a way to make this a closer game than it should be? Because it's just like that. It's like Dallas, except I feel like this game is more of a trap game for the Steelers than the Dallas Cowboys game was. Because at least the Dallas Cowboys had their star players there. They had guys like CeeDee Lamb on the field, Amari Cooper, and Ezekiel Elliott. The Jaguars don't have anybody there, any of their big stars. They might be without their running back James Robinson, who's been pretty good this season. And I don't know. I just don't know how to feel about this game here. Like, look, I know the Steelers aren't going to go 16-0. Let's get that out of the way, because I feel like a lot of people think that the Steelers are going to go 16-0, and I don't know. It would be nice, yes, but I'm not going into the rest of the season thinking that that's going to be the thing. If it happens, great, more power to him. But I think Ben Roethlisberger said it best this season. The most important thing is not going 16-0. The most important thing is getting to the Super Bowl and winning it. And when I look at this game, everybody on the Steelers is healthy. Everybody is for the most part, everybody is healthy. You're going to get Mike Hilton back. You're going to get who else was coming back? I honestly forgot now. Give me 1 second. Yeah, Mike Hilton's coming back. Isaiah Buggs is coming back. These are guys that were out for the last couple of weeks, and it definitely shows on the field because they're key parts of that defense right now. And a lot of there's a lot of good things going for the Steelers this weekend because everybody's coming in mostly healthy. I think the only three people who are considered out right now: Trey Edmonds, Jalen Samuels, Javon Elliott. This is a game that I feel like the Steelers need to get the running game going as well. They have not been doing that the last couple of weeks. It's been more focusing on Ben Roethlisberger throwing the ball, getting the ball out to his wide receivers, which he can do that because he has so many options to him. But at the same time, though, you have the running backs there for a reason. You have them there to drain the clock when you need to, and like in the second, like when last week against Cincinnati, they had the game pretty much sewn up. All they needed to do was just run the football out and run the clock out and get out of there, but they didn't do that, and I don't know why they're doing that. My only thinking is that because we're in November, we're getting closer we're getting to the last 6 weeks of the season where it's going to be cold, where it's going to be snowy at times, and that's where you want to use your run game more, so you could drain as much clock as you can, keep the other team off the field. That's my thinking going into it. I think they're waiting until the colder part of the season gets here, and I don't know. I feel like this game in particular, you might start to see the running game come back into play. I think you'll definitely see it more on Thanksgiving night when they play the Ravens. Keep Lamar Jackson off the field, run the football as crazy as you can, and I feel like they need to do that. I feel that's one of the key things that I think the Steelers are keeping. That's what's keeping them from being a perfect team, because their offense is playing great right now. The wide receiver game is playing great right now. The defensive side is playing great. The running game needs to get going. I feel like the running game does need to get going. I think that does happen. I think we start to see it this week. So my overall prediction is that I think the Steelers will win this game. I think they will go to 10-0. Hopefully there won't be any major injuries in this game, especially with the short week coming up. And then we get to Thanksgiving night against the Ravens, which will be a much tougher game because the Ravens are essentially going to need that game to keep any chance of getting into the postseason alive, I think. Especially if they want to repeat as AFC North champions. I feel like if the Ravens don't win that game, the Steelers pretty much have the AFC North locked down at that point. But more importantly, I think they need to win that game to at least have a chance at the wild card, because sadly Cleveland is slowly but surely getting back to becoming a better team now, especially with Nick Chubb back in the lineup. So overall, yeah, I think the Steelers will win this game. I hope there won't be any major injuries going into the week, because we have a short week and we got to play the Ravens on Thanksgiving. So let's see how this week plays out.
Check out the FanDuel Sportsbook app or website for the most up-to-date odds.
Time now to beat the bus. Jerome, we remain tied. Is anybody going to gain any ground this week? You and I sit on top. Albie is 2 games back. Not too shabby, I must say, but kicking things off with the Steelers and the Jaguars. Is this going to be that trap game, or will this be an easy one for the Steelers?
This is going to be somewhat of a trap game. I think the Steelers get out of this game with the win, but it's going to be close. They're going to be shaking their heads after it, but they will get the win.
Well, no surprise, all of us picking the Steelers in this one. The FanDuel Sportsbook line as of this show taping is Steelers by 10. Now, the Ravens looking to avenge their loss to New England as they welcome Tennessee to town. All of us are picking a bounce-back game for Baltimore here. The line is Baltimore by 6. The 6-3 Browns hosting the 3-5-1 Eagles. We're once again all remaining in the AFC North, picking the Browns. The line has Cleveland by 3. Now, the Bengals and Washington both looking to bounce back after losses. You guys are both going with Cincy in this one, but I have Washington here, and the Washington football team has the slight 1.5-point edge, so hey, we might see some differences. And the Sunday night showdown between the Chiefs and the Raiders. Kansas City looking to avoid being swept by Vegas. All three of us have Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs to win this one. So hey.
Here are today's Pepsi picks, brought to you by Pepsi, the official soft drink of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right, it's time for the picks. Actually, 2 games in 5 days. We're going to analyze this one in Jacksonville because it could be a stumbling block. Jacksonville has a guy who's very good at kickoff returns. Keelan Cole, he returned one to the house last week. Can't afford to have that happen. So, Rich, let's start with your pick.
I'm going to be honest. This was a tough one for me. I think the game's going to be close, but I like the Steelers
Steelers are going to win pretty easily, and I do too. I think just Jacksonville's that bad. Watched a lot of their games. They have not been impressed. They got a lot of young guys who could be dangerous if you allow them to be. Now, players to keep in matchup.
JB, undefeated Pittsburgh is in Jacksonville today, trying to move to 10-0 on the season. They meet a Jaguars team that has lost 8 in a row. And here in the broadcast booth, hi everybody, Ian Eagle along with Charles Davis. Every single week it seems like somebody different steps forward as the offensive standout for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Deontay Johnson, the wide receiver, just the latest for Pittsburgh.
He missed playing with Big Ben last year, wanted to get comfortable with him this season. He's doing it in a big way right now.
Jaguars rookie corner C.J. Henderson placed on IR with a groin injury this week. Jacksonville gets back the veteran D.J. Hayden this afternoon.
You can never have enough guys to cover these Pittsburgh wide receivers. They get D.J. Hayden back at an appropriate time.
Charles, the Steelers lead the NFL in sacks, 36 on the season, 2 more last week for T.J. Watt. He now has 9 this year.
It's not just the production, it's his unrelenting pressure each and every snap.
Well, for Jacksonville, if you look for positives, there's a big one. At running back, it's James Robinson. He has been a revelation, undrafted rookie free agent.
I love the word you just used there. He emerged during the preseason, allowed them to let Leonard Fournette, their former #1 pick, go, and he's given them everything on offense that they need.
Despite the perfect record, Steelers still looking for more production in the run game. James Conner hasn't cracked 100 yards since mid-October.
He wants to get back to that number, but his head coach, Mike Tomlin, firmly in his corner, says he's still our bell cow.
Now for Jacksonville, looking for big plays. They could see it on offense. They could see it on special teams. He's one of the longest tenured players on the squad. It's Keelan Cole.
They'll line up all over on offense. It gives you great return ability. A big one against Green Bay last week.
Countdown to kickoff continues here in Jacksonville. Coming up, the AFC playoff picture. Who's in, who's out, when the NFL Today continues.
You just couldn't let me have that one bit of happiness, could you? Ben Roethlisberger threw the interception in the end zone to Jacksonville, which luckily didn't get any points for Jacksonville, but you don't want that to happen. That's the same thing that happened at the Tennessee game, and then Tennessee almost came back and won that game. But feeling pretty good right now, 17-3. But again, keeping my expectations in check because Jacksonville is going to try. I feel like they are going to try to come back in the second half, even though the Steelers will get the ball to start the second half, and they can just try to drain as much clock as they can. The running game is certainly improving here. It started off slow. Second quarter was probably their best. Was obviously their best because they scored all their points in the second quarter. So, yeah, 17-3 right now. Hopefully that continues, but keeping my expectations in check. Gonna watch and wait and see what happens. Jacksonville has been known to come back, even as bad as they've been this season. The last 2 games have shown some promise under Jake Lutton. So let's see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Pittsburgh Steelers will move to 10-0. One team remains undefeated. Now the Steelers are doing it in different ways. We've seen the tight ones. We've seen the come from behind efforts. Remain perfect. 10-0 to start the season. They get it done in Jacksonville, 27-3. The final. Bonus coverage is coming up with Tennessee and Baltimore. Overtime tied at 24 apiece. Steelers produce 370 and Luton.
You just love to see it. Well, for the second week in a row, I can come in here stress-free and say that the Steelers are 10-0. 10-0. I did not expect that. I don't think anybody around here really expected that, but it is what it is. I'm going to enjoy it because, like I always say, enjoy it while it lasts, because sometimes it doesn't usually, it never usually lasts, but enjoy this while we have it, because who knows when we're ever going to see this again. Some concerns on the injury front. Juju Smith-Schuster apparently got injured on I guess his toe touched the tip of the penalty flag, and he was like limping for much of the fourth quarter. So I'm a little worried about that. But I mean, yeah, this was a pretty good game. 27-3, the final score you saw there. 10-0, and now we go to Thanksgiving night, and the Ravens lost today. They lost to Tennessee in overtime. So, yeah, this could be a very interesting game coming up this weekend. Not even this weekend, this Thursday. So, definitely one to keep a close eye on for sure.